After almost a year of working on this project, it is time to wrap this series up here on the channel. The work isn't done yet. I'm going to continue shooting through the end of summer, and then I'll be just working strictly on the back end here, developing, scanning, editing, sequencing, just trying to put things together and make a book. And while I do want to share that part of the process, I don't want to share it in real time because I feel like that will really influence things more than I'm comfortable with. I want to really work on that sort of by myself and with, the close people that I trust and that are helping me with all of this. And then when it's done, I want to kind of share all of that experience with you guys afterwards. So for the final episode, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I thought I would just share what the project has been like for me, what I've learned, both like practical tips, technical things for photographers, but also just personally as a photographer, what it's been like working on this and what's helped me. I hope any of these tips or things that I've written down will help you because they've definitely helped me. First of all, give yourself plenty of options when you're actually making pictures. While you're out there looking with your camera, get as many as you can to give yourself options, and you can do this a number of different ways. Bracketing exposures is helpful to get different options in your exposure. Sometimes, especially with film, you might not have the right exposure you needed. Maybe you feel like you had too much camera shake or you didn't get enough in focus and you need to have different options. Give yourself plenty of exposure options there as you're working. And like I mentioned, changing your depth of field, this has saved me so many times because as I get older, I've realized my eyesight is not what it once was, and shooting wide open doesn't always work for me as well. So I've learned that I really need to give myself a few different options. Maybe if I do want to shoot something at 2.8 or f4, I'm also going to make an exposure at f8 or f11. I'm going to give myself some options there just to ensure that I am going to have at least one photo in focus, because I can't tell you how many times working on this project I have realized that I missed focus entirely, which I would then have to revisit a scene, which is another way of giving yourself options. Revisiting the same place over and over might seem kind of ridiculous. I used to think that if I've been somewhere before, I've seen everything there, so nothing else is going to really register or jump out at me. But for this project especially, I've been frequenting a lot of the same places, and as a result of that, I've gotten a lot of different options in different light from different days. The time passing between each time I go to a specific spot, and then as a result of that, having photos that show a progression of time. That wasn't the goal in mind by doing that, but it does help, and it does have another element that you can use in a story. Revisit things, see how things change. Sometimes that alone can really spark things and keep things going. And working the scene, that's something you hear people talk about all the time. I don't know that I'm not a street photographer. Me walking around with my camera, just kind of squinting and looking at stuff, kind of confused. I don't really know if that's working a scene, but what I typically do is I'm just wandering around looking with my camera, and if something catches my eye, I just kind of stare at it and get lost in it and sort of orbit that scene or that subject. I'm just trying to see how things change as I approach the subject or scene from different angles, different distances, giving myself room to crop if I want that. Unless you're a purist about cropping and you need to print in the darkroom with the frame borders, I get it. I went through that phase myself. But just giving yourself options. Don't just walk up to a thing and think, okay, that's the photo, take it and then walk on. Give yourself time. Let yourself really look at it and see how it changes as you change your point of view. And while we're talking about being out there making pictures, take your camera with you, no matter what. No matter what you're doing or where you're going, take your camera with you, I promise you. The amount of times I have left my camera, it's always when I see something and think, God, that would be perfect for what I'm working on. This project, I've been shooting everything with the Pentax 672, 75mm lens, occasionally the 105, and a bag of film, mostly FP4, but just all Ilford black and white film. And carrying all of this everywhere I go is not ideal for me. It was at one point, but that was before I was carrying plenty of children and had a lot more on my plate. So carrying this around with me everywhere has not been great, but it goes in the bag with me if I'm going out, just in case I happen to see something. Also, wandering around a rural area like Southern Ohio, shout out to Nick Carver, having an orange vest in my truck has been so helpful. If I'm ever just wandering around some back roads, especially out in the country, if people see a truck pulled over on the side of the road and I've got an orange vest and a hat on, people usually just drive by without thinking anything of it. Now, as I've been working on the project and developing and scanning the film, I've also been making just some small prints, nothing fancy, nothing final, just giving me something to work with. That way I can actually have photos physically in front of me. I can move them around, I can put photos next to each other, sequence things if I want to, shuffling up all the pictures after I have something together. That's always a good way to just sort of break things down, start fresh, and see, what I keep coming back to. Letting things evolve, letting things breathe, that's been huge, because for so long I've always just wanted to figure things out and pre-visualize and nail everything down before I get started. And I've learned that you really can't figure any of that out without doing. Actually just getting started and working on it, that's where you're gonna find all of the answers and ideas that you're just trying to brainstorm. At least for me, that's typically how I've always worked. I've always just thought and then I could do this. But I can just get stuck doing that all day and just daydreaming and brainstorming of ideas. Whereas actually getting out there and doing it, that's where you're really gonna find all of those ideas that you're looking for. It's also really helpful to have a few close people in mind that you can share the work with, share your thoughts with, and get trusted feedback on. I've obviously shared some of the pictures here. Not everything will make it into the book, obviously, but especially around that time frame when I'm putting the final edit together to make the book, there will be a few people that I trust to get that feedback on, because I don't want to take just from a broad pool of an audience. I really want to focus on the people that know me the most and the photographers that I admire the most, just in order to make the best book that I can. Not just the best book that I can, but the book that feels like me. I want to make work that truly feels like me and not just making work for other people, which is a difficult thing to do when it's your job, but I'm trying to figure that out. Which is a good reminder, before I pay some bills and tell you about our sponsor, KEH, I just want to say thank you to KEH for supporting me in this series and trusting in me to tell my story and share my experience over the last year. Especially, I've talked about it before, and I don't need to get too far into it, but the timing of this project with losing my mom, having a project like this to focus on and pour into, and also to just sustain myself, it couldn't have come at a more crucial time. I don't want to say perfect time. That just sounds horrible. It couldn't have come at a more crucial time for me to have something that I can work on and focus on, and also something that supports myself and my family. And YouTube and sponsors and paying the bills and things like that, I've been doing it for 8 years now, and I definitely wouldn't be making this work right now without KEH's support. Being able to focus on this, I definitely wouldn't be making it. So if you are enjoying the work, if you've enjoyed these videos, if you enjoy the book when it's out and available, KEH Camera is a huge part of that. They're not publishing the book, they're not funding the book, it's still going to be self-published directly from me to you, but I would not have been able to make these pictures and give myself the time to work on this over this past year without KEH Camera's support. So thank you so much to all of you that have been watching this series every month, and most of all, thank you KEH Camera for helping me make it all happen. KEH Camera has been buying, selling, and trading used photography gear for over 40 years. No matter what kind of gear you need, KEH's inventory is massive and it's always being updated. They have a risk-free 21-day return policy for thousands of their items, along with a 180-day warranty included. If you're not looking to buy, but maybe you have some gear you want to trade in or sell, they also have a quoting system on their website that's available 24/7. If you'd like to go over all of the specifics of the gear, you can also schedule a video chat with one of KEH's buyers. Be sure to use the affiliate links below anytime you're shopping with KEH if you'd like to support the channel. That goes a long way at no extra cost to you. Also, don't forget to use the codes on screen and down below to get 5% off your order or a 5% bonus on your quote for selling or trading in any gear. Thank you again to KEH Camera for all of their support on this series. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. I'll see you guys soon.